Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hello, everyone. I'm just looking at your faces in gallery mode. Welcome. I'm so glad I see some familiar faces. I see some new faces. So glad you're all here. And my name is Marilyn Suttle. We are going to be talking about how to become a virtual MC. And that is whether you want to be an actual MC or lead meetings with the MC skills. And with me is Margarita Guri, Dr. Red Shoe.
Hello.
Margarita, tell us why they call you Dr. Red Shoe.
You know, everyone asks me, and depending who they are, I tell a different story. But the truth is, when we escaped from the communist country of Cuba, where I was born, my mother was told she could wear just what she had and a suitcase for the whole family, and $5 per person. She was not so pleased, and no one displeased my mother. She definitely had an opinion. So she did this to Castro and wore red shoes. I'm going to leave my way. And so there's more to that story, but I wear the red shoes to honor the lovely spirit of my parents. It's about accountability, making your own way, just as we all doing now, and as Cubans say, in the time of the COVID. Back to you, Marilyn.
And because of COVID, so many things have changed, and virtual has become a necessity, and it's here to stay. Even when we go back, so many companies have realized how convenient it is to get people globally together, that if you have MC skills during your presentations, it's going to give you an edge. So we're going to start by looking at some of the features that we'll be using today. One of them, Margarita is going to share right now.
All right. So if you put your cursor on your face and right to the right of it, see Robbie to the right, you'll be able to see there's a rename option. And pull it down, and you can see that Marilyn and I have already put our names with where we are. Let us know your location.
It's the rename feature.
Yeah, I think it's a fun feature. And it's one of the ways you guys can create engagement with any virtual meeting or audience.
And then if you can't see their name and location on the little picture, you could click on participants, and then you could see everybody's name and where they're from. So we have someone from Miami, Florida, Chile, Michigan, lots of Michigan people, Northern NH, Florida, Jerusalem.
That's my friend Livy in Jerusalem. Woo!
Sunny, California. Welcome, welcome, everybody. Look at all these great places that you are. And we're going to be pulling back the curtain to tell you why we're doing what we're doing as well.
So Marilyn and I started doing this because when COVID hit, there was all these speaker friends of ours who suddenly had no source of income. And so both of us are seasoned MCs, and we became more and more virtual MCs over the last few years. And we decided, well, why not teach our friends? And so we started teaching our friends, and then we said, aha, this is a business. So we figured we'd get it started and help people to make a difference in the world by connecting even better virtually. And that way they can support themselves and their families.
Absolutely. And if you look to the right top corner where it says view, just go ahead and click on that view button, and you'll see that you have some choices. You can see people in gallery mode or in speaker mode. So you get to kind of create your own experience, how you want it to look. So feel free to just play around and see how you like it. Then if you look at the bottom down here, there's a reactions button. And if everyone could just click on your reactions right now, go ahead and click, and then click any reaction you want. There's clapping hands, there's a thumbs up, there's a heart. Let's see what you got. Oh, look at celebration one. And if you're not seeing it, it might be because you haven't updated your Zoom. So you need to, after the session, go into Zoom and update, because they're constantly coming out with new features. Also at the bottom is the raise a hand feature. How many of you see the raise a hand? Raise your hand if you see raise a hand. Let's see. Or click the raise a hand thing so I can see it there. Now the raise the hand stays there until you get called on or we put it down for you. So that way we know you have a question. So that's there. I got some thumbs up.
You can also
Awesome.
click on the reactions button and you can click lower hand. I learned the hard way that that's the only one that stays for a while. Everything else is just temporary. It's a flash.
And then there's the chat. So feel free to click in chat and just type in hi. So we could see that you know where chat is. It's there at the bottom of your screen. Or sometimes you have to hit the more button at the bottom. I see some highs. Jennifer, Melanie, Julie,
Hi,
welcome.
Julie Thompson.
So we're going to draw back the curtain as well as teaching you as we go. Notice how some people have screens on and some people have screens off. And then do you see where it says backup computers? Margarita, tell them what that is.
Well, Marilyn and I decided that what we were going to do a long time ago is to show people how to be really careful with being upfront. So we have extra, in case our internet goes fewy, even though we have a Wi-Fi directly connected to the Ethernet, we figured why not connect the safe way? This way, if we lose connectivity, we have the Wi-Fi on our phones, and both of us have those just in cases. So normally when we do a presentation, we wouldn't be showing you all these things we're doing, but we're trying to let you know the tricks of the trade so that you can be the master of your own virtual world.
And with that, we're going to start with a question. And that question is going to pop up on the screen, and that is, this is building up tension and curiosity.
Yeah, I did that on purpose.
What's one thing you want to learn about today? And I'm going to do this again. Normally we're a small group, so I could just easily just say who wants to go first. But let's say it's your meeting and you have 50 people or more. You can't just say who wants to go first. It's too disorderly. So what you would do is what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on participants so I could see all your names. And I'm going to tell Brita that she'll be the first person to answer the question. And now she's probably thinking, what's the question? So don't do that to people. I'll tell you the question. Don't worry. What is one thing you want to learn today? And after Brita, we're going to have Dave Bricker go.
And I popped the question in the chat in case you wanted to be able to read it instead of just hear the question.
So Brita, if you would unmute yourself and just say, well, what's one thing you want to learn today?
I would really like to learn about run of show and how you can best communicate with your client about creating the flow of the event and ways to just make the event the best it could possibly be.
Wonderful, thank you. And after Dave, it will be Erica. So Dave, it's your turn.
I think my goal here is a little bit more abstract because I do a lot of these kinds of meetings. So I want to learn what I didn't know.
Got it. Great. That's for a lot of us, I'd be willing to bet. That's always
not the case. And especially since with Zoom, there's always new features all the time. And from everyone, we learn what to do and not to do. We always learn something new.
And so now I'm looking at your names alphabetically. If you're wondering how am I picking you, if you look in participants, it's all alphabetical, except you always have your own name at the very top. So after Erica, we're going to go to the person whose name is Farmington Hills. There's no name, but there's a location. So go ahead, Erica, if you would unmute. And Erica doesn't have her camera on, but you can if you wish.
I just got this in my email and I was in the office, so I figured I'd just check it out for a while.
Well, thank you.
Wonderful. Well, we hope you get some value out of it and you don't get interrupted by a meeting.
Erica, what's one thing you'd like to learn today?
Well, honestly, I don't really use a lot of digital meetings in my business. I'm still face-to-face, but I use it for school. So maybe I'll learn something for school in here.
You can dazzle in your next presentation.
Yeah.
So as you can see, we're opening up the meeting and asking some questions, but we're not going to ask everybody because it takes too long. Marilyn, how about one more?
One more. I mentioned the person who said Farmington Hills, so let's go ahead and have that person unmute.
Hi, Marilyn. This is Paul Speaker.
Hey, Paul.
How are you?
Good.
Hey, the reason I wanted to see this was because sometimes I lose control of the meetings, and I might give it to somebody and they take over and start running away with it, and I need to get it back.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you. And is there anybody who didn't talk that's just burning and they just really have to share? Just raise your physical hand for me. And nobody's burning. So we do. Will.
Okay.
Will, I am. Will, I am. Go ahead. You have to unmute. By the way, when somebody starts talking, it's always helpful to have a little symbol so that they can see that they need to unmute. Go ahead, Will.
That's a very good idea. Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon. No, I think that I've been doing this for a while. Thanks to Margarita. I've been speaking for a long time, but when it came to I was one of those people that the speaking circuit that got kind of shut down, and then I started doing a lot of the web based casts, and so it's been different. So I respect her, and I've seen your bio, and I respect what you guys do, and I'm always learning. We're always here to learn. We're lifelong students, right?
Right. Thank you. That's great. And notice I spotlighted him. For those of you who maybe have seen, all of a sudden there's three of us. Margarita, myself, and William is all spotlighted. I'm going to remove his spotlight, and it's just the two of us again. We're pulling back the curtain so you can see what
you
we're
can
doing.
spotlight anyone you want, and sometimes people aren't ready for it. So it's always good to give them a little heads up that that's something that's going to happen. So I spotlighted my friend Jennifer, whose video froze in that moment. It was a lovely image. Okay. You're welcome, Jennifer. So. I gave her no warning whatsoever.
Oh, gosh. That is so fun. So what is going to happen next? Now, here's the mystery. You always want to build up a little mystery. What's going to happen next? Margarita, tell us.
Well, now, Marilyn and I were talking about what does it actually take to do this whole MC thing. And we're talking about mindsets. So before we dive into what we think are the mindsets, what is something that really bothers you most about what virtual MCs do? Now, we got some hint of it, by talking about losing control of a meeting. So put in the chat. So we're demonstrating now different ways people can share. Put in the chat, please. What are your pet peeves, things that bother you like crazy that MCs do in a virtual meeting?
For me, it's when they talk in a monotone voice and they just drone on. Oh, and here's one, people don't look. Yeah, they're always looking at down here, or they're up here.
Virtual backgrounds without a green screen, their head goes in and out. That's always fun. That's fun to watch. Don't respect time, start late, go past.
Apologize over and over and over when the tech happens. Oh, yes. We've got to keep that part to ourselves and keep calm, and people will feel, okay if you feel okay.
There's always going to be something that goes wrong, and, go with the flow. My pet peeve is when they blame somebody else.
Yeah.
They say, oh, my producer messed that up. I don't like that at all. I think the buck stops with us. It's all about accountability.
Right.
So, and asking, can you hear me? Can you see my screen? That should have all been checked way before.
That's right.
So that was Dave Brickers. We have one more.
Interrupting the speaker, lose of control of the agenda. That's a big one. Oh my gosh. Don't respect time, start late. There's a saying that you are loved if you're a speaker until 1 second after you were supposed to stop, then they hate you. I want to get going.
And whenever I run meetings, I have a philosophy that the motion to adjourn is always in order. So it's best to adjourn early whenever possible, or exactly on time.
Wi-Fi instead of wired connection, and chatting with each other during the session.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Let's look at then the mindsets that Marilyn and I put together.
So there are 4 major mindsets that they're practices actually that make up your mindset to be really successful with this. And notice how we have 1, 2, 3, 4. This is another engagement tool because we're going to reveal each one. And by just, how sometimes you just PowerPoint death, you go through the slides and you don't even have it retained. When you do the number thing, you get people wondering if they could guess what the next one is. So let's see the first one, which is service practice. So it's all about being of service. Well, I'm a customer service expert, so that comes naturally for me. But it's that idea that it's not about you and you looking good and you getting the attention. It's about how do I make the host look good, the speakers look good, my attendees look good, being of service, going the extra mile, coming early, like some of the comments you made, being very respectful of time. Those are key to being successful with this, is having that service mindset. The next one is stage presence. Stage presence is you being you on stage. It's you bringing your confidence, your competence, and even when you make a mistake, that you don't crumble, that you just be okay with it, because they'll be okay with it too if you handle it well. So stage presence is also what's happening in front of you, and behind you. So having a light source in front of you so you could see, people could see you, making sure that you're framed properly on the screen and that your background isn't distracting. So those are 3 things. Then there's the growth mindset. Number 3, growth. So growth mindset is that, you're going to roll with whatever changes come along, because as we learned in 2020, you can't predict these things. And with technology, there's always new versions. Zoom, every couple of weeks, it seems like there's a new version. So we have to get really good at continuous improvement. And then number 4 is the practice of accountability, of taking responsibility. Like Margarita was saying, she was saying so well that don't throw your producer under the bus. By the way, having a producer is important. The more people you have in a session, the more you need a producer. Margarita and I kind of play back and forth with that, but that is somebody who is going to handle the chat, handle the timing for you. You will have like your phone where you could text each other if somebody says, you have spinach in your teeth, or something like that happens. So you're accountable to make sure everything goes smoothly. And that leads us to the craft. I want you to think of people who impress you, like it's the host of the I can't think of it, the Oscars, if you see Ellen DeGeneres, she has a certain stage presence. She has a certain craft. If she tried to be Tony Robbins, how ridiculous would that be? So we bring our authentic selves plus all the MC skills, and together that creates the craft.
And now we have a poll.
Let's see that poll. Okay, here we go. It is being launched.
On virtual MCs.
And here you go. It says, are you most interested in becoming a virtual MC, updating your virtual MC skills, leading more effective meetings in virtual meetings, or hiring a virtual MC?
So we call it the role poll. And part of why we're asking is to show the role that polls can take in terms of engagement, but also to find out, what are you really interested in? So you'll see that we're polling people as we go in a variety of different engagement strategies.
And a really good thing to do when you're the host is when you're about to close a poll, some people might have gone off and they're looking at their email, or they've just got distracted for a second. So you want to give them some warning so they get them in there. And so you would say something like, okay, the poll will be closing in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then you end the poll. Now, would you like to see the results?
Ooh,
Margarita, look at this.
look at that. So update, 43% of y'all wanted to update your virtual MC skills. And I have to say, from this group, many of you are already most excellent MCs. Leading more effectively in a virtual meeting, that's 57%. And I think we can, and none of you want to hire a virtual MC, but I'm sure down the road you'll want to hire a producer. So a lot of times we help each other out. Dave Bricker's daughter came up with the idea of a meeting monster instead of a meeting monitor, which is what we call a producer. So you might want to be doing that. All right. So now this was the poll. So we have it here. So for some people, you want to show a slide first, and then do the poll. Others, you read it and you could put it in the chat. We're just showing you different examples, whatever you like.
Mhm.
So then we did the what bothers you most. We did that already. And the issue is you can decide how you want to do stuff. So let's begin looking at the before an event.
No, let me just tell you,
Event
you need to go out there and start spending.
Pardon?
Oh, and this is a really good learning point. So somebody is probably talking and they don't realize that they're not muted. So I can mute them. I just did. And that
So
way,
when I'm speaking, she's acting as the producer and she can mute it. And if it happened when she was speaking, I would be doing the muting. And I'm running the PowerPoint. We're taking turns with things. So before an event is one of the areas where we can show off that we're MC pros and leader pros. So it's about planning, preparing, and practicing. And there are some things that you need to do. The most important one for an MC is to create a timeline. And we have a script that we show you in our challenge week and in our boot camp. And it's very important to have from the beginning and end. And Marilyn and I have a script for today. When do we push the recording? When do we start the music? Who's doing that? We have it color coded. Marilyn just put a handout for our tips to show. We have a tip sheet. Creating a timeline is all about getting all these parts aligned beautifully so that you have a smooth experience and people can pay attention. If people are worried about you, they get anxious and they're not paying attention. So you can see we put other things on this slide, but the most important part, we decided to direct you, and you'll get a copy of the slides. The most important part is to direct you to creating a timeline. We've already established ahead of time how we're going to clarify the etiquette, and then you saw us doing that ahead of time. And now, Marilyn?
it's showtime. So with showtime, this is the day of the event. So the day of the event doesn't start a half hour before the event. It starts that morning, especially when you do a really big event. If I've been part of an event with hundreds of people across the country, and you need to make sure that you're planning. Let's take a look at some of the things you need. Now, we're only going to cover some of them, and we go into much more depth in our boot camp and in our challenge days, but we're going to start with a tech check. You want to make sure that all your settings are right and that the speakers have the right settings. You want to confirm the timeline and update your script. These are really key things to do before you move forward.
There was a great question from Jennifer. Is the handout link supposed to download? And I said, yes, you can click it open and download.
Good question.
Yeah, very good.
And then opening up team communication is really key. So maybe you have a producer, maybe you have co-hosts, maybe you have speakers. You want to have one place, maybe it's through text, where you can communicate with each other and tell each other, slow up, we've got more time here. Oh, you forgot to do that thing, add it. You don't want to say that out loud. So we give each other cues for speeding up, slowing down. If there's a technical issue somebody's having, we stay in constant communication.
We also did something extra just in case, since we're using our phone as backup computers. We opened a Google Doc, which we share, and we can write live and we can see each other on our script writing stuff. So that way we have a plan B and plan C for everything we need. All right, so now during the event, and this is one of the areas where we can really shine. One of the biggest problems is what to do with dead air.
So now here's a good example. I could put up a little thing like this, or I could say, you know what, Margarita might be trying to be a mime and give us a little extra entertainment.
So if for some reason my sound goes off or I click something by mistake, she can keep going. She can comment on it and make use of it, or she can take it away. So the main thing is to have a plan for how you're going to fill dead air. So what I want to do right now is let's do a breakout room and talk about some dead air strategies. All right. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to divide you up into 3 rooms with 3 or 4 people in them. And for about 3 minutes, no, 4 minutes. And the question is, we're going to put it in the link, is what are some dead air strategies that you have found in the past that have worked for you or other MCs? The person who's going to go first, and so now you have to give instructions, because there's nothing worse than going into a breakout room and say, who's going to start? So the person who's going to start is the person whose top is the brightest color. And black is not considered a bright color. I'm just saying it has to have the other colors of the rainbow. And then when that person finishes talking, they pick somebody else. It doesn't matter what color their top is. So you don't have to stack it up. So give people a chance to start. If you need to remember the question, we're going to make sure to put it in the chat. And if you do you have any last minute questions before I put you in the breakout?
Yeah, Jennifer says nothing happens when I click. Oh, we'll take care of that.
Oh, okay. So we gave you a just testing, just showing how we handle things gracefully. All right. Any questions before we put you in the breakout rooms?
Looks good.
Okay. And on purpose, I'm not going to assign all of you to the same room. All right, you ready? And then you can just join.
Now here's where I would normally pause the recording, but I'm not going to. Instead, I'm going to just mention that I have 3 in one room, 4 in another room with Margarita, and another room. I've got 3 rooms with people in it, and they're talking, which is great. And I'm going to broadcast, if I can, breakout rooms. I'm going to broadcast to everybody. So that just broadcasted out to everybody. Hey, Robbie, how are you doing? And in the meantime, I'm going to file. Everyone. And I'm going to, let's see. Hello. Oh, I can't hear you.
I decided to go into the room.
That was good. That was good.
Yeah.
I just put a file in the chat for the actual handout.
Okay, good. All right. And I think we'll have to put the file in again because I don't know if everyone has access to the file when they're in the breakout.
No, I uploaded it straight from my computer, so they don't have to download. They could just click it.
Oh, okay. But I'm saying in the chat. Oh, you sent it to the room or just put it in the regular chat?
No, regular chat.
Oh, I'm sorry. I heard broadcast.
No, yeah, I might have said the wrong thing. I don't know.
I'm glad you didn't mind me punting. I decided just to punt and do it differently.
You did great. You did great.
I thought it was more fun this way than what we planned.
Yeah.
I thought we needed a little boost of energy.
That was my bad.
That's all right. That's all right.
I love how graceful you are when I
You and
screw
I
up.
flow.
I
We're
just
good.
love how graceful you are.
Hey, I'm really good at messing up and fixing it. What can you say? It's a skill set.
Okay, time is
I
up
love
in
this
4
because
minutes.
it says
Do you
time's
wanna
about. I
take
had
your-
added that. Is it?
Okay, so I'm going to close now. Are you going to close now?
Yeah, I'm going to close now.
Okay, that's your deal.
For some reason, when we changed some of the stuff with the computer, the extra computers and stuff, not only couldn't I do the poll, but then I had to now assign all the rooms. It's
I
not how
saw
we said
that.
it. Yeah, I think adding the other computer was interesting.
And welcome back.
Welcome back, everyone. No dead air here.
And sometimes we don't need technology to debrief. We could just have a physical hand raised because we are small. So who wants to share something they learned or heard that would be great for the rest of the group to hear for dead air?
Well, I have a funny story first.
Oh,
My
good.
granddaughter, who's 11, who is the love of my life, she was hearing me and Marilyn talking about dead air. And she said, "What's dead air?" And I said, "It's something that Cubans never have," because I'm from Cuba. It's nothing Cubans ever have, but some people have that. Is when there's silence. So she laughed. She said, "No, I don't think I know dead air." So what are some of your favorite dead air strategies that you have found to be helpful? All right, Brita. Oh, you're mute, madam. Thank you.
Clearly, I'm uncomfortable with dead air because I often volunteer first, so there won't be dead air. But as an MC, and Margarita mentioned this as well, is that you just have a toolbox. You have an arsenal. You have a plan B, a plan C, and a plan D. And it might be a list of factoids or interesting tidbits or, a preview about what's coming up next. The idea is that it sounds natural, you're professional, you're poised, and that you're not flustered. And the audience doesn't even know that there was dead air because you are just on the money.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Brita. That was well said. Anyone else?
I think also, I just thought of this, we were talking about just like she was saying, just having a backup tool. I told them, it also depends on, how well you know the person, but I have somebody, just in case somebody falls out, the host falls out, having somebody that can immediately pick up, because audiences are like children. When if it gets too silent over a minute, they can start going, they get antsy.
Yeah.
In my case, as Margarita knows, I like music. So I will play music in a heartbeat, in like a quick intercession of a music so that keeps people calm.
No, what you do is dance. He does that kiki thing and whatever. He does all sorts of things when there's something that goes wrong.
Don't tell my secret.
Huh?
Don't tell my secret, Margarita.
I'm going to tell your secret because no one can do it as well as you. Okay? So Kiki and I love you. Bye. And you see, we're putting the spotlight when someone speaks and then removing it. That's one of the fun things about engagement. Some people don't want a spotlight. And then what I forgot to tell them is mostly say, if you're speaking and don't want to be spotlight, put it in the chat to me. And then I behave myself pretty well.
Oh, speaking of the chat, I went ahead and popped in the quick tip sheet for you. And we don't need that now, but it's something for you to take on. It's a gift. It kind of summarizes a lot of what would help with tips and things like that. So go ahead and click that, and you don't have to download it. It just goes automatically to your.
How about one more share for the dead air?
We got one. Dave?
Is Dave sharing?
The only time I can really imagine having dead air, and it hasn't happened to me yet, which means it probably will, is I do presentations, I do workshops where I do live coaching with audience members. And very often people are hesitant, but there's always somebody who steps up, and then people realize how fun it is. And once I get going, but I think if I ever had a group where people were just absolutely terrified to participate, I could probably switch gears and say, well, let's just go over a few ideas. Let me demonstrate a few, and then we'll try for volunteers again.
Mhm.
And I think the bigger lesson is to have a flexible agenda, is to have your contingency plans laid out in advance. Okay, if nobody volunteers, well, I know I've got Margarita in the audience and I can always get her to volunteer. Having your friend there, having somebody there to be a shill never hurts. But otherwise, what are you going to do? And anticipate those possible problems and have your plan B ready to go.
Mhm.
All right, thank you, Dave Brooker. And then I remove the spotlight. And one of the problems we have in group meetings is how do you, if someone's going on and none of you have, but just an example, if someone's going on, how do you move them on? And one way is to remove the spotlight. Our friend Robbie Samuels, who has No More Bad Zoom, has this thank you, and the next idea, you know, thank you, Marilyn, for that idea. That was great. Thank you. And now who else? So I think you come up with a strategy that helps you use engagement, but not be held hostage to someone who loves to go on, like I just did.
Oh, that's great.
Thank you for noticing.
And notice that we go back and forth. Sometimes we have gallery view where you see just us, and sometimes we pull up the PowerPoint. It's good to have a variety so that you're not bored with the same view all the time, right, Margarita?
Yeah, it's nice to, you know, move things around. So that's important. All right, so let's keep moving.
Mm-hmm. Now the anticipation.
So then some of you were asking earlier about sharing. So when we share, you share the screen. We have it so that you're sharing just a portion of the screen. Otherwise, you see the ugly stuff at the top, whether it's slides or Keynote or PowerPoint. So we just have it sharing a portion of the screen. When you're sharing sound, you have to click at the bottom when you it says when you click share screen. Everyone click share screen real fast on yours. All right, and you see at the bottom share sound and optimize.
They're not co-hosts.
That's right. They're not going to see it. That's a Bofo move. They're not going to see it because they're not co-hosts. But when you're co-host, you can see the share sound and optimize button. But if you share that, what happens is that there's a reverberation. So you only share that when someone's not going to be talking. So we did the dead air. And now let's talk. Dun, 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 dun. We're at the end of our presentation. What happens after, Marilyn?
Okay, so when the presentation is over, you're not done. If you want to get rebooked, you want to be of service after the sale. We hate it when it's crickets after the sale, you just disappear. So to get rebooked, review, revise, innovate, and implement. And that's something you do with the host that hired you, or with your client that hired you, or you do it with yourself if you're doing the show on your own. And the one point we're going to talk about here today is to identify growth points. It's like doing a post-mortem afterward. Celebrate what went well, really anchor that in, feel it, enjoy it, and then look at what could have worked better next time. Update your script, because you keep a script so that you're not having to reinvent the wheel all the time. You keep that script and you update and update so that it gets better and better. And then last, you start planning for the future events. You tell the client, well, now that we've seen what worked well here, let's talk about next time. I'd love to help you with that one. And be of service, give them ideas, be that of value person.
And then speaking of future events,
we have one tonight. We have a speaker lab, actually not tonight, it's immediately following this session, where you can ask your questions. We dive deep into whatever it is you want to work on, so you get some hands-on practice. And that's today, if you're interested in coming with us.
And then coming up in February, we have a challenge week. Mm-hmm. And some folks, the next month we have a boot camp. So some folks have asked us to maybe move the date of the challenge week. So we're still considering it, but we're doing a challenge week in February, March, or April. You let us know which is your preference. In fact, you can put in the chat, please, if you prefer, if there's a challenge week. And it's a Monday, Tuesday, where there's a deeper dive. It's an hour and a half. And then Wednesday, you work on your own. And then Thursday and Friday, and you'll be working some of the basic skills, how to do an intro, how to do an outro. We'll give you a template of a script, the template of the intros and outros, and give you some of the more practical opportunities for practicing using these skills. And then Marilyn?
And then we have, the virtual boot camp. That's a deep dive. It's going to be once a week, starting in March. And we're going to go 2 hours a session with homework in between, so that by the time you're done, you feel so ready to go out there and just rock your next event.
All right.
And that leads us to some Q&A time. This is my favorite part.
All right. So we wanted to make sure that we gave plenty of time. So we've got 20 minutes left, and you want to always make sure that people have a chance to ask questions. So what questions do y'all have?
And by the way, click on gallery view if you aren't already, by going up to the right corner where it says view and click on gallery, so that we could see each other. We're all here together.
So I'm going to make a confession. It was very hard for me when I'm seeing an audience, it's hard to know that this is my right, that if I go right, they think it's left. Because, I taught kids and audiences, whatever, but somehow for the virtual world, it took me a long time to get it that if we're doing the right corner, you have to use your left hand and point up. I don't know why it took me forever, but it did. So there, I'm sharing. So
try it, everybody. Just take your left hand and move it to this corner, to the upper corner.
There you go. See it? You guys are struggling the same way I did. Okay. And that way you're pointing to the corner. Now, what we also learned from people in Disney, you never point, and my mother said it's rude to point. So people in Disney do two hands, but most people do a hand. And so people either do two hands because you're not pointing.
Well, I got it right.
And some people even have magic wands. Sometimes when I'm dealing with kids, I go, now in this corner, because in Cubans, we talk with our lips, and over here and over there. So you can use props if you want.
Props are great. As a matter of fact, when I have Q&A, I will sometimes use this, or back here you can see I've got my little bum ball, and I've got a thought bubble.
So you guys have been quiet. What questions do you have? And we'll do our best to answer them.
Yeah, feel free to unmute.
Oh, Jennifer, you're muted. No, nothing? Oh, we can't hear you. I'm sorry. Jennifer's brilliant, and she and I work on some stuff together, and it's always fun to work with her.
No, I was just saying I don't have any questions. So.
Or do you have anything we missed that you can share with everybody? I mean, we're all learning from each other all the time. What wisdom can you share? I'm sure we missed something, on purpose, of course,
Jennifer is a CSP from the National Speakers Association.
And a CPA with a sense of humor. Go figure. And Brita, you had something to say?
Yeah, I would love to get your take on virtual backgrounds. I think for a while they were all the vogue. People were playing with them, and some of them were wild and wacky, and some of them were...
I'll show you my pet peeve right now. Are you ready?
Yes.
Oops, for some reason, I just renewed it. And so can you there? So now I put on a background without a green screen. Doesn't it look great?
Yeah, that's that. Now I don't have a green screen, but I have the settings so that I don't need the green screen, and I have very good lighting. So you can see it really depends on your settings of Zoom. So both are true.
Also, what I've done is, because people have their heads get cut off in the background, you see often. So what I actually end up doing is I actually end up investing in getting a actual backdrop that I would use often. It's kind of what you have, Marilyn, that is actual live backdrop, and that way I don't have to worry about my head getting cut off or a certain thing. Exactly. So you can play with it. So because I learned that you can use the different backgrounds, but for me, I guess I kind of like both.
You're using the green screen. Is that what you mean by backdrop?
No, I actually bought an actual screen with the
the green screen.
Yeah.
So it's always better if you have look at Dave Brickers, how professional his is, and look at Julie Thompson from Auditing Alliance. She's branded. She looks beautiful. And if you have look, okay, now Requete Lindo, he's showing off. I love it.
That's awesome.
And by the way, mine is virtual and I have no green screen behind me.
You have, oh, this is my favorite.
Oh, right. Yeah, you're like me. You don't have a green screen, but there's a setting, right, that you tell it so that you
Yeah, there's
can,
just a, yeah, when you go in and use the virtual background, there's a box at the bottom that you can check to say green screen or no green screen.
Right.
However, I will say it depends on where I am. So the office that I'm in right now has a pale bluish gray wall behind me, so I'm having no trouble. Go into a room that has a more neutral background, and I have the same problem that Margarita said. Like if I were to hold something up, you know, it disappears unless it's right in front of me.
Mm,
And then if you have white hair, you know, you can disappear depending on your background. It's always kind of fun. And Jennifer, she had a leopard background. She'd be like camouflaged, you know, so that would be fun.
that's fun. And then you could use, if you go into video filters, you could do some fun things, like if you're talking about COVID and wearing masks, you put a mask on. It's silly, but it could be a fun way of just getting people to laugh a little bit and pick their icon.
Are you guys used to doing the filters? Do you know how to play with your video filters? Marilyn, why don't you talk them through that? She is the queen of filters.
Okay.
It's so much fun.
So, okay, I'll be the baby shark here. So in your, to your bottom, let me use my, to your bottom over here, right corner, or left corner, click on the little caret by stop video. There's a little caret, and that brings up, now if you have the current version, you'll see choose virtual background, and underneath that, you'll see choose video filter. So if you don't have choose video filter, that means you haven't updated your Zoom yet.
Or
So,
if you updated it, what I learned the hard way, you also have to update and then download each one that you want. So
Right.
if you click on it, but you've updated and it's not working, it'll prompt you to download it. So don't do it now, but you can do it afterwards. So you
Then
can
you-
see, oh, look at Jennifer. Oh, okay. And Melanie, we can, oh, she's in outer space. All right.
Right. So you can have a little fun. It just adds an element of levity, especially if you're talking about a serious topic. Oh, look at the angel Brita there with her little halo.
And look at that little pajarito, the little bird. That's
And there's
adorable.
the bird, and oh, the
I have a
mask for
question.
Julie.
And
Hey,
Julie is in
I have a
the
question.
world of safety, and there she has her PPE on. Oh, and she's showing us that she's number one. Brita, oh, and Angel.
So the
Brita, did you have a
I
question?
Somebody said that there's a fake lipstick or something.
Yes.
This?
Yeah, there is.
Yes. So if you look at the very bottom right corner, it says Studio Effects. And
But
you
you
click
have
on that.
If you download it, you can click on it. Otherwise, it'll nag you saying download video effects, and you'll have to download.
Right.
Okay,
So this is,
where-
if you are
I'm not seeing
currently
it.
uploaded. Okay. So are you in video filters?
Oh, now I am.
There you go. And at the bottom
Yes.
right, you see Studio Effects, and you could add eyebrows. I just added eyebrows. You
Okay,
can
Groucho.
put a beard on. And this is one I do all the time. I have lipstick on right now.
And look at Libby. She's got her, and now she's got a beret. Ooh la la, que linda. And look at you, Melanie. That's funny. She's an alien. You know what? I always wondered if you were an alien.
Look at
It's
this
like
guy.
nice all the time. It's not natural. I mean, and Dave Bricker, you got a hand up and you're muted.
Yeah, I just wanted to say one thing with virtual backgrounds, because I like, I've got a nice green screen setup and I play with stuff, but I try to keep my backgrounds really subtle, because if I do something silly like this, nobody's going to be able to pay attention to anything.
Yeah, but that's my
including
favorite.
the speaker. So it's funny, it's nice for a gag, but if you're going to use virtual backgrounds, keep them slow and subtle and simple, because otherwise you're just stealing the show from whoever is on stage. Or if it's you, you're stealing a show from yourself, because people are going to focus on your background instead of you.
And
Or
if you
Dave-
have
or
a
Dave-
background, you have to make sure you have lights on the background, or there's not enough difference between you and the background and you don't show off.
Or Dave,
And,
you can say
you have to choose a color that makes you look pretty or handsome.
William had a question.
I was just saying to Dave, I said with the roller coaster, you say you talk about your topic will be going down the slippery slope, and here you're going down a roller coaster. Good topic there.
Right,
Improvise.
but real quick, you can use backgrounds as slides, right? It's a whole different way to do it. But
Videos, yeah, video backgrounds, yeah.
Mhm.
And look at Libby. She looks like now she's in a picture. I mean, and you could think about what is your brand, And if your brand is humor, or even if not, I mean, the other day I emceed a funeral and everyone wanted to do a funny filter. So we did, because the person who died loved practical jokes. And so they arranged a practical joke at his funeral. It was fun. It was the most fun funeral I've ever been at.
And I was at an awards show. There was a team of 6 of us, and we had 167 people who were being nominated. And it was just this huge event. So we all had the same background, so that when we turned our cameras off, it was the brand of the company. And the other thing we did with backgrounds is we did a session where it was the awards part, and we would bring on just some fun things. Like we'd have everybody submit a picture of them in a ball gown or a tuxedo. Of course, not in real life. They would put their picture on, their face on a picture and send it in. And then we had a fun red background with like you're on a big stage. And you could do lots of fun things to create engagement.
All right, what other questions or input do you have?
So here's a question.
Oh, wait a second. I just asked, so let them, so she rescues people. So one of my suggestions is let people suffer a little, because if you rescue people right away, now with Marilyn, no one says no to her, but if you rescue people right away, then they don't believe you're really asking a question. So just hold and wait. If not, she'll rescue me. Oh, now we have crickets.
But you know what? We're both comfortable with it, so it's okay.
We are. Go for it, Marilyn.
So what I'd like to know is if we could go around and share what's your next thing that you're going to do virtually, and what is your plan? So and I love the on deck thing. Do you want to do the on deck idea?
Sure. We're going to have Dave and then Julie. What's your next virtual gig? And so if everyone wants to unmute themselves, we're okay with some noise.
I'm actually doing something right after this at 3:30 for a bunch of college students. They somehow picked me for career day, which is great. Yeah, so I'm going to be a bad influence. But I do have a workshop coming up Saturday night on presentation skills, which I'm excited about. I've got over 6 people signed up for that. So
there's all these etiquette rules going around, and this is American Sign Language for applause. And so some groups do this, some have learned to do this. Whatever is the culture, you can create your own culture or follow the culture. Okay, Julie and then Jennifer.
So I actually have a planning meeting this afternoon for where I will be the producer a week from Saturday for 2 book authors that are going to be discussing their brand new books with each other. But my next MC job will be on Tuesday. The Auditing Alliance has a monthly discussion group, and so I will be moderating that.
And she's created this out of thin air, her Auditing Alliance, and I'm so proud and impressed. All right. So now we have Jennifer and then Libby.
My next gig will be next Friday. I'm facilitating actually it's tomorrow, facilitating a meeting for the New England chapter of National Speakers Association.
Oh, I'll have to see if I can go to that. That would be great. I didn't sign up. Great. And she's Jennifer's a great MC. She MCs all the time. You're welcome. All right,
Just to pull back the camera, I just want to pull back the curtain. As an MC, if you have people in the audience that have some credentials or some special things about them, it's nice to let them shine. Just like Margarita just did with Jennifer, let people know the good news about the people that are in the room.
Yeah, I think the more you shine on others, the more you shine on yourself as well. Besides, it's just fun and nice. All right, so then Libby in Israel and then Melanie in Georgia.
I have a writer's group on Sunday, which we take turns emceeing.
Very nice. All right, Melanie and then Brida.
I will be emceeing a Girl Scout meeting tomorrow.
Oh, cool. And what age are the Girl Scouts?
They're 9 and 10 years old.
God bless you.
So that's why
Okay.
I made the comment about them chatting in the chat while I'm discussing things, because they love to do that, but it's an outlet for them. So
It is an outlet. Well, congratulations, and I'm sending you my blessings.
thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, I did Boy Scouts for a while for my granddaughter. It was an interesting experience. I think it was easier for me to teach at a prison.
Oh my goodness.
I'm just saying. Okay.
It's
Brita, and
rewarding.
then-
You get a lot back from the kids as well. So.
Yeah, you do. I'm being bad. You do. It's a wonderful experience. Brita, and then Will I Am.
I have a planning meeting this afternoon with a group of urologists regarding an event. And the thing I've learned is that of all the medical specialties, urologists have the best personalities and the best senses of humor. They have to, because of the jokes. So that's a fun group. And then I'm very excited because it's not an MC thing, but it's my very special project called Care Boost, which is a series of videos that I'm creating to help support healthcare workers, to give them a boost.
And she wrote a book, Take a Break Before You Break. And it's good. And she's got the new one coming up. So that's good. And last but not least, Farmington Hills.
Oh, William too.
I skipped William. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
William.
That's perfectly okay. I'm okay with it.
Dementia. William, you first, and then Farmington. I forgot. Sorry.
I don't have any upcoming at this point, but I had one last weekend. I had a gala in Boston. It was a event we dressed up and we did one to raise money for Haiti. It was a very good event. So that was my first actual live gala that we did. We had people from all over the world, so that was pretty cool. So I'm working on my next one right now. So when I get one.
Congrats. And I just did something that you guys aren't going to want to not do. Not only did I forgot who was on deck, but I looked at him rather than at the camera. I'm still getting used to it. Look at the camera, Margarita, and I have a little superhero there. Look at the superhero, but he's so engaging. I'm looking at him, and then I look like a troll, and I'm not paying attention to the rest of you, or you get to see the top of my head, right? So that's a tip, and we all learn from what works and what doesn't. And now, drum roll, last but not least, Farmington Hills.
That's Paul Spica.
Thank you, Margarita. On Saturday, I'm the audit chair for a committee that I'm leading. And my goal is to get it all done in one long afternoon, if I can keep them on track.
Yeah,
We
keep
wish
that
you-
script
We wish
going.
you well on that, and I have faith you can do that.
Yeah.
And you'll learn something, to be sure. So we have 4 minutes left.
So Margarita, what about you? What is your next gig?
Tonight I have a gig. I'm working with 2 rabbis who are having a fight about how to handle something yucky that happened in their congregation. So I'm doing some yucky management negotiation with the rabbis, and we'll see how that goes. That should be fun. I'm planning on covering up more. Don't worry, Libby. I'll be all covered up. So that'll be fun. Libby lives in Israel, and she is an Orthodox Jew, so that's wonderful. So if ever I have any questions, I can say, "Hey, Libby," and she'll help me understand. How about you, Marilyn? What's your next one?
Well, I just got booked for a corporation. It's going to be 1,000 employees at one time on Zoom.
Cool.
And this particular Zoom has a 3,000 person limit, so I could have 100 breakout rooms.
Oh,
It's
that's
going to be crazy.
That'll be so much fun.
Yeah.
I can't wait. And you and I are in line. We put in a proposal to do another conference for groups, and we'll see what happens with that.
And we'd love to see you at one of our upcoming labs. The labs are really free flow, and we dive into your needs. And then the challenge week teaches you how to put together the script for before, during, and after, and the transitions. And then the boot camp goes real deep.
So, and if we can help you in any way, just pick up the phone. You've got our contact information. Thank you all for showing up. We promised to end on time or early, and we have kept that promise.
Yes.
We love you all for showing up and being here for us.
Thank you.
Take care.